What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 4 of the Elephant Wire podcast, the show where we break down song lyrics and don't play you a damn second of the song because major labels are thieving babies that would sue us up the ass. This week's episode, we're going to be dissecting the song Loving Someone by the 1975. Let's get some.
Welcome to the Elephant Wire podcast. Music, drugs, laughter, lyrics.
Welcome, everyone. How's everyone feeling out there today? Jake here, feeling pretty good. I'm ready to get into it. I've been a fan of the 1975 for a minute. I came on the scene after they had already released their first album. I found them right about the time that they released the album that we'll be talking about today. And from the second I stumbled upon them, I was a big fan. Their first album, self-titled, the 1975, is also a fantastic album. Songs like Chocolate or, oh God, I'm not going to do it again. Oh, here we go. I'm about to, I just get excited about something and I start saying things that aren't even fucking true. So I'm going to correct myself right off the bat. I'm going to stop going off the cuff. I'm going to get back to the script. The Suits, I haven't brought them up in a minute. The Suits have, they've gotten on to me about that, about how I've been getting off script quite a bit, and they're not opposed, they're just weary, and I need to be more structured. My wife tells me that a lot too, but that's neither here nor there. But let's get into it. The 1975, they are made up of 4 young gentlemen from England. We have vocalist and lyricist Matt Healy. On lead guitar, we have Adam Hann. We got bassist by the name of Ross MacDonald, which, when we were rehearsing this episode, I actually said Ron McDonald, and it made me think of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But Ross McDonald on bass. And then drummer, we have George Daniel. Now, Matt and George are actually the 2 producers of all of their music. Matt writing the lyrics, George doing a good amount of songwriting, and then both of them doing the production of their songs. They have released 4 studio albums since 2013. And they also have a live album in there, I believe. Live at the O2. We'll actually talk about that a little later. And they actually have their own label called Dirty Hit Records. It's under the umbrella of Interscope. But they have their own label. They actually came up with that in 2013 when they released their first album, the 1975, and actually as where it stands today, that label actually has 20 other artists on it. So a label that was formulated for themselves to be able to keep some anonymity and keep some control of what they do. Now has given 20 other artists an opportunity to succeed in the music industry. So I think that's really beautiful, and it speaks a lot to what the 1975 has going on. One thing that I found that was really interesting about the 1975 in general is they released 4 EPs before ever releasing their first full album. And I was doing some reading. Matt Healy, their lead singer and lyricist, he was asked why they decided to go about it that way. Usually bands, they release a couple singles or they have an EP out there, and then the second they just release that first full album and they tour like crazy on it. And so when he was asked about it, his thought process was, we wouldn't have been able to release the album, talking about their first full album. September 13 was whenever the 1975 came out, that first full album. We wouldn't have been able to release the album without putting out the EPs first, as we wanted to make sure we could express ourselves properly before dropping this long, ambitious debut record on people. And I love that. Any musicians out there that are in the process of recording or writing or getting things started right off the bat, I honestly view this idea as a beautiful idea of releasing 2, 4, 7 EPs right off the bat that you can kind of figure out what your fan base wants to hear and where you do best. until you release that first full album. And kind of, like he said, that ambitious debut record. I really like this idea, and this is the first time I've seen a band of this caliber that has decided to go this route with it. But the album that we're talking about today, or the song we're talking about today, comes off of the album I Like It When You Sleep, For You Are So Beautiful, Yet So Unaware of It. I'll say that one more time. I like it when you sleep, for you are so beautiful, yet so unaware of it. One of my favorite album names of all time. That was actually, I originally, when I found the 1975, I actually saw, I think that's what it was. I saw that album was being released. I saw it on like a New Music Tuesday post or some kind, and so I came onto the scene. Well, okay, so their album was released February 26, 2016, so I probably came onto the scene around, February 23rd, 2016 is whenever I discovered the 1975, because I saw the album name and I was like, I'm going to need to check that out. I'm going to see what's going on. But Matt Healy, their lead singer lyricist, he said in an interview with NME, he said about the album, I just wanted to make something truly representative of a time, something truly postmodern, something truly ambitious in the right way, something that wasn't controlled by fear. It's about being pretentious, not pretentious in the way that you would like to be perceived as more intelligent than you are. We take our art very seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. Now that statement right there, it's about being a bit pretentious, not pretentious in the way that you would like to be perceived as more intelligent than you are. That statement right there, we're actually going to reference back to that statement a lot, because this interview that I was watching, whenever I first saw that, I first of all, the statement itself caught me off guard. But as we start to go through this song and we start to really dissect what this song is about and what this song is trying to relay to us, the listener, we'll see that this is literally the ethos that the 1975 enacts by, is that they are pretentious about their art, but they don't take themselves too seriously. So, as direct action on that statement, the song that we're talking about today, the 1975 is known for being rather political in the way that they go about things. But in January of 2017, so shortly after the inauguration of Donald Trump, the band released a live video of themselves performing "Loving Someone," the song we're talking about today. And the video was actually from December 2016, from their show at the O2 Arena in London. And like I said, they've released a live album from that 2-night stand that they did at the O2. But the video that they released, it features, a lot of rainbow flags, a lot of solidarity with the LGBTQ community. And when they uploaded the video, like I said, it was on January 20th, so very shortly after the inauguration, they made sure to tag Trump in their video that they uploaded on Instagram. And even better than that, during the video, Matt says to the crowd, "The obvious thing is it's very sad to see that not just the young, but young progressive voices of change being drowned out by regressive ideals." And obviously it was an absolute slight at what was going on in the U.S. at the time. And we're as we really go through this song, and as we really go through this, some other points on this album, we'll definitely see that the timeline, 2016, I mean, we all remember back to that year. That's the year memes went to shit. That's the year everything just went, down the tubes. That was a tough year. 2016. I wish we could do that one again. But here we are, 2020. Let's keep moving forward. But yeah, I thought that was really awesome. That it may seem petty and it may seem catty, but that's exactly what they were going for. They were going for, like, look, we should be loving someone. So tag the guy that is the ultimate example of hate at the moment. And one would only assume that he blocked him on Instagram instantly. That's what he fucking does. Child. But just as like I was saying earlier, I mean, their drummer George and Matt, they have everything to do with the writing and recording, and really anything to do with the band. I mean, Matt was even quoted. I was reading at one point. He was saying, go look at the credits. Every song is written and produced by me and George. Like every note, every second of it, we produced it, and I think that it is. We talked about this a little bit in the episode about Same Drugs with Chance the Rapper, of keeping your independence as an artist. And obviously there's little areas where at the bigger you get, there are going to be things that you will lose control over. However, when it comes to your actual music itself, in the writing, in the producing, and what you want to do there, as much control as you can retain, the better. Because you, as the artist, as Matt was quoted earlier, and like I said, we'll keep referencing back to this, to be able to be pretentious about your art, and you can't do that with someone else's hands in your cookie jar. It's not possible to do that, and so the fact that they've been able to keep their independence as far as their writing and recording and their production, it speaks volumes, and it actually allowed them the opportunity to keep that same feel and that same vibe and that same sound as they've now released 4 full albums. When the album came out in 2016, it was Rolling Stone named it number 1 on the 20 best pop albums of 2016, which a giant award, a giant accolade to have attached to this album. NME, which I'll reference quite a bit during this episode, or the New Musical Express, it's a British music journal, named it Album of the Year in 2016 and named it 6th for Best Albums of the Decades for the 2010s, which, once again, huge accolade. This album, front to back, is one of my favorite albums to just throw on at any time. A good road trip album, a good cleaning the house album. It's front to back. It is a fantastic no skip album. And so 6th best album of the decade for the 2010s. I can get behind that. That's something I'm on board with. It actually became the group's first number 1 on the U.S. Billboard 200. And as far as that's concerned, it set the record for longest title of a Billboard number 1 album with 71 characters. I like it when you see for you're so beautiful yet so unaware of it. It's a long album name, and it set the record for the longest album name to ever hit number 1 on the Billboard 200. So, but as far as the song itself, the song we're talking about today, it is track 11 of 17 on the album. It is 4 minutes 20 seconds long. Nice. To make a song that's 69 minutes, it's like some, prog rock shit. So 4 minutes 20 seconds. Let's stay in there. Nice. As far as breaking down the melody of the song, right off the bat, the way the song comes in, it almost swells in with this very distorted, almost female-esque voice singing the chorus, and that's the same voice that will sing the chorus throughout the song. But at the very beginning of the intro of the song, the voice almost stands alone. We have some background noises. We have some swelling, like I said. We have some soft moving patterns left to right. But we just have that singular voice, distorted, almost vocoder-esque, singing the chorus to us. You should be loving someone. And then whenever we get into the verse, we get some percussion. It is absolutely a drum machine, but it's very chattering percussion. And as I always say, I mean, this song has been added to our Spotify playlist, our weekly updated Spotify playlist. So if you are not familiar with the song, bounce over and listen to it. I'm not going to wait. That would just be a bunch of dead air. But pause the podcast, bounce over, listen to the song real quick, and you'll hear it's a very chattering percussion. It's a very, definitely a drum machine. And the synthesized, the other sounds that we're hearing at the time, an arpeggiator, as it's referred to, is the main melody of the song. It's giving us our melody, our harmony. It's filling in all those little spots. It's not until, as far as the verses, it's not until we get to the second verse that we get, because, it comes into the first verse and it has that, the drum machine, the arpeggiator, very chattery percussion. And then it goes back to the chorus where it drops back out again. And very, very soft, with just that that singular voice singing the chorus to us. We get into the second verse then, and the second verse is a little more filled with ambient sound. There's a little more background noise. There's a little more, there's one thing that, if there's one thing that 1975 is beautiful with, it's layering. They're very good at layering. So now that we get into the second verse, they add a couple more layers on top of what we already had in the first verse. And at this point in the song, coming out of the second verse into what would technically be the third chorus, given the intro, as we go into that third chorus, this is actually the point in the song where whenever I heard this song, this is why I fell in love with it, because the second chorus is whenever we get the full band and we especially get the full drum kit. And at this point in the song, this is when I actually fell in love. The way that the drum, like the actual live drum kit, the way George comes in, it is awesome. The way that the melody comes, the way that Matt is singing at the time, the way that the rest of the band comes in, it is a phenomenal build to that point in the song. When we have that third chorus, and then it goes into a spoken word section where the band just kind of falls out. We have some ambient sounds, we have some dropping out and then building back up into a final chorus. But the spoken word section is one of my favorites, and it's going to, as we go through the lyrics in the next part of this song, it's going to be one of my favorite points to go over as we get through this. So at this point, I'm going to step away for a second, check out this sweet ad. You should be loving someone. Loving someone. Yes, you should be loving someone. Loving someone. Yes, you should be. My heart is telling me the telly isn't telling me anything I need, but it needs to keep selling me. Besides celebrities lacking in integrity, holding up the status quo instead of showing the kids that they matter. Who are they going to batter next? Just keep hold of their necks, keep selling them sex. It's better if we keep them perplexed. It's better if we make them want the opposite sex. Disenfranchised young criminal minds in a car park beside where your nan resides are not slow. They've just never been shown that you should be loving someone. Loving someone. Yes, you should be loving someone. Loving someone. Yes, you should be. We're all human. We're just like you, man. We're sentient or something or other, I can't remember, whatever. We shouldn't have people afloat. If it was safer on the ground, we wouldn't be on a boat. Charlatan telepathy, exploiting insecurity, and preying on the purity of grief and its simplicity. But I know that maybe I'm too skeptical. Even Guy Debord needed spectacles. You see, I'm the Greek economy of cashing intellectual checks, and I'm trying to progress. But instead of selling sex, I think I should be loving someone. I am forever in, alongside the boys in jumpers, on bikes from schools and cars with autumn leaves falling sparse across mid-afternoon. She blazed about how cultural language is an operating system, a simple interface rendered feeble and listless when tested with the divinity or a true understanding of the human condition. I never did understand the duality of art and reality, living life and treating it as such, but with a certain disconnect. To touch that cajoles at the artist with comfort and abandon. And between the spires and rolling roofs of the white city, that orange, English light cast only one singular shadow. For you are not beside, but within me. God, I love this song. I am, like I said, as long as I've been a musician, I don't think I said this already, actually, when I say, as I said, I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but now that we've done the reading and that last little part, the the spoken word part. As long as I've been a musician, and as many songs as I've written, and as many projects as I've been in and been a part of the songwriting process, I have always wanted to write a song that had a spoken word portion like this song, and not once have I ever pulled it off. I always ended up sounding like an asshole. And listening to this song, listening to Loving Someone by the 1975, whenever it gets to that spoken word portion, Matt pulls it off beautifully. And I love this section of the song. And like I said, I've always wanted to do that, and I've never actually been able to pull it off. So before we even really get into um, pulling apart these lyrics, that is something that I definitely want to mention. And I also, before we really even get into the first verse, Matt writes lyrics very self-explanatory. He writes very accessible lyrics. So as we go forward through this, it'll be a lot less dissection, line to line. It'll be a lot less digging and more just reassessment or rewording of trying to figure out the overall premise of what we have going on here. So let's just dive right into it. The very first line, super easy. My heart is telling me the telly isn't telling me anything I need, but it needs to keep selling me. Blatantly, right off the bat, TV's gone to shit. It's because he follows it right up instantly with, besides celebrities lacking in integrity, holding up the status quo. What he's referencing is the fact that when you turn on a TV, all you see are celebrities being shitty human beings, reality stars being shitty human beings, and turn on the news, newscasters being shitty human beings, calling people they're scriptedly arguing with a shitty human being. In essence, he's referencing the fact that depraved humanity, angry humanity, has become the status quo of entertainment. Holding up the status quo instead of showing kids that they matter. Instead of what is entertaining us, instead of everything around us, instead of it showing us that we are loved, instead of showing us that we should be loving someone, it's just showing us this depraved view of humanity. Instead of showing kids that they matter, and then he makes a almost a rhetorical statement, if you will, by saying, "Who are they going to batter next? Like, what's next? Who are they going to pick on now?" And he goes in, even being sarcastic. Just keep hold of their necks, keep selling them sex. It's the entertainment of television today is not showing the love. It's not showing children that the world around them is to be loved, and the people around them are to be loved. I mean, because keep hold of their necks and keep selling them sex, and he says it's better if we keep them confused. The statement about keep hold of their necks, it basically keep them faced toward that status quo. Keep them looking exactly at what you want them to be looking at. Keep them sexually frustrated. It's better if we keep them perplexed. It's better if we make them want the opposite sex. I mean, pitch them a socially acceptable way to live, and outside of that is confusion. Make them feel that unless they follow this direct path toward what is necessarily laid down by, say, the powers that be, whether that be, the governmental entities, or, the military industrial complex, or, just television in general being that weaponized mechanism to get these points across. Keeping them confused. I mean, show them a TV show that just has adulthood stars angry at each other, and then go to the commercial break and sell them sex, keep them sexually frustrated. Confusion has an unfiltered reign at this point, is what is the point that he's trying to get across. And he ends the first verse by once again going about it in a more so sarcastic way, by saying disenfranchised young criminal minds in a car park beside where your nan resides are not slow. They've just never been shown that you should be loving someone. He's not saying that they are criminals. He's not saying that, a bunch of kids just hanging out, maybe they're skateboarding, or just standing around listening to music, maybe they got a hold of their aunt's cigarettes. He's not calling them criminal. He's being facetious whenever he says this, because this is the label that gets attached to these kids. And he's saying that they're not slow. They're not behind. It's not that they're not up to date on the times. It's not that they have put their lives on the back burner just to stand around and be, derelict youth. That's not what he's saying. They've just never been shown that you should be loving someone. They've never been shown that kind of love. They don't know any different than just a vastness. Because everything that they've been received, they've had someone a hold of their neck, selling them sex, keeping them perplexed. And, the rhyming of all of this is fantastic. I love the way Matt lays out this first verse. And, going into that first chorus, I definitely want to reference here too, is that he ends both the first and second verse. He ends them, even the spoken word portion, more or less. He ends them on almost a partial sentence, so that as the song goes into the chorus, that you should be loving someone. He ends it on a partial sentence so that the chorus completes that sentence. He ends the verses with a clear-cut command, but just to read it by itself, it's almost out of context. It's a half thought. He ends it early. And that is the beauty of the song structure of this song, is that as it then goes into the chorus, it completes that thought, that you should be loving someone. They're not the kids hanging out in the car park by your grandma's house. They're not slow. They've just never been shown that they should be loving someone. And then he goes into verse 2. We're all human just like you, man. I mean, he just equalizes the entire conversation. He's not saying that there's a specific person he's speaking to. You could literally find any human being on the planet and say, we're all human just like you. There is no one left out of this conversation. We're all human just like you. And then this is by far the first point where earlier whenever I was talking about Matt making that statement about being pretentious about your art but not taking yourself too seriously, this is exactly where we have a beautiful example of that, because the next line is, we're sentient or something or other, I can't remember, whatever. And even the way he sings it, he's singing along and then he kind of trails off from singing and just sort of says it, as if maybe he had written something at one point and he couldn't remember it, or he wrote something and decided he didn't want to say it. We're sentient or something or other, I can't remember, whatever. And he just moves on. And I love it because it gives, like I said, I mean, it shows, as we go through this song, the pretentious aspect of this, of the terminologies used, the diction used, the way he chooses to say certain things. It could absolutely be pitched as being pretentious. But then you have a statement like this, we're sentient or something or other, I can't remember, whatever. It shows that he doesn't take himself too seriously. He can make a joke in here while he's talking about something this serious. And then once we get to this last line now, or this next line, we have our first mystery lyric that we're going to actually have to maybe even use some conjecture. We're going to have to kind of pull some meaning out. And I've done as much research as I possibly can in comparison to other 1975 songs, other lyrics by Matt. This song, in a lot of comparison and interviews and everything, I feel that the next line here, you shouldn't have people afloat. If it was safer on the ground, we wouldn't be on a boat. Now, I feel in this moment he's actually being sarcastic. Once again, and this plays into, again, the pretentious aspect, the pretentious side of the art, the pretentious side of the way he chooses to say things. And he did say in that interview, not pretentious in the way that you try to sound more intelligent that you are, but pretentious in the way that you pitch yourself. And so this, like I said, this being our first mystery lyric, we shouldn't have people afloat. If it was safer on the ground, we wouldn't be on a boat. What I feel like he's saying here, and obviously I don't know for a fact, but what I feel like he's possibly implying is that there's a sinking ship of society, and that those in charge are consistently declaring it's all okay. And the reason that I've settled on this, as far as I feel like this being his actual point that he's trying to make, is because of the timing that this album came out. And whenever he said that when he was talking about the album in general, when he said we tried to make something reflective of the time, let's just look what was happening in 2016 in England, where the 1975 is from. You had Brexit going absolutely bonkers, Boris Johnson being a total fucking turd. In the US, you had the election and Trump being a total fucking turd. In Russia, you had Putin being a dick. Everything that was going on in 2016 at that time, there were all these world leaders. Everyone is just feeling like you're on a sinking ship going under, and all these leaders just declaring all is okay. Everything's fine. Just follow me. Because he then backs it up with the next statement: charlatan telepathy exploiting insecurity and preying on the purity of grief and its simplicity. Now, a charlatan, if anyone is unaware, a charlatan is a person who falsely claims to have a special skill or knowledge of a situation. They're a fraud, is who a charlatan is. And who does this fucking sound like? It sounds like Trump. It sounds like Boris Johnson. It sounds like world leaders in 2016 that are still around today. God help us. It sounds like this is who he's implying is the charlatan. And to throw in telepathy, I find very interesting. To throw in telepathy as the special skill, it prepares us for that next line, because he says exploiting insecurity and preying on the purity of grief and its simplicity. Because every human being on the planet battles insecurity. Every human being on the planet battles depression and grief. And those feelings, those human emotions, are simple. And they are pure. He's absolutely right, preying on the purity of grief and its simplicity. They're very simple and they're very pure. Some people find it more conducive outlets to be able to deal with those issues. Some people find a simpler approach in how they deal with them. Some people have just an easier day-to-day battle with depression and insecurity. But those that do not, when you have someone who is a charlatan declaring their ability to reign supreme and bring a consistency, when you have people that are insecure in those times, and you have a charlatan, a fraud, saying that just follow me, I'll make everything fine, it absolutely preys on those people. And it preys on the purity and the simplicity of their grief and their depression, their insecurities. It absolutely does. And it's in these moments when we find our true human experience. I referenced that. I think I've referenced it the past the 2 episodes, if you will. And I'll continue, because in song lyrics, I mean, that's one thing that I always try to find is a commentary on the human experience. And in this one, this is by far the true human experience of those feelings of grief and insecurity. I mean, that's when we find what it means to truly be alive. We feel that pain. We experience that hurt. So to have democracy so captured by charlatans exploiting those feelings that should be pure, that is what he's making reference to. And then he continues and says, I know maybe I'm too skeptical, because in that moment in 2016, I remember my wife and I, we threw a watch party for the election night, and we all watched Trump win. And I remember talking to multiple friends and all of us saying, in that moment, like, all right, well, here we are. Are we being too skeptical? Did we fall victim? Maybe I am too skeptical. We've learned now that no, we fucking weren't. We had no idea how bad it was going to be. But I know maybe I'm too skeptical. And he even says, even Guy Debord needed spectacles. Now, I had to look this up as well. I was not familiar who Guy Debord was. But what he's saying is maybe I'm too skeptical. Maybe I'm just an asshole. Maybe my take is skewed. And by saying even Guy Debord needed spectacles, Guy Debord was a French Marxist theorist, philosopher, filmmaker. The guy wore glasses. And so what Matt is saying here is even a guy, presumably Matt has written his books, saw his films, read his teachings, and maybe is a fan or a follower of Guy Debord's life work, in his ideals and his thought processes. So what he's saying is maybe my take is skewed, and even the guy that I go to for information on this, even he wore glasses. I mean, once again, he's making a joke. He's making light of a situation. And he starts to wrap up the second verse by saying, I'm the Greek economy of cashing intellectual checks. And this is, once again, I mean, this is a moment in time. In Greek economy in 2016, excuse me, the Greek economy in 2016, it performed worse than it had. Greece entered its debt crisis in the summer of 2015. And in the last quarter of 2016, it shrank even more. So the end of 2016, the horribly just monetarily economy-stricken debt crisis that was going on in Greece got even worse at the end of 2016. So for him to say he's cashing intellectual checks like Greece at that time in 2016, what he's saying is his intellectual checks bounce. They're not. They hold no weight. They have no monetary value. He's the Greek economy of cashing intellectual checks. But he instantly says, but I'm trying to progress. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to get better at this. I'm not trying to just stay stagnant. I'm not trying to just continue to be an asshole. I'm trying to progress in this area. And this is something that I hope we can all say. This is something that I hope we can all have a commentary about our daily lives, is that we always are trying to progress. We don't just create an ideal, plant our flag, stay there, and never budge. That we always need to allow new information, new findings, new ideals to shape our understanding of the world around us. That we're trying to progress. And he ends the second verse by giving us a clear-cut command, that almost a promise. Whenever he says, for him, as far as the progress that he's trying to make, he says he's not selling sex, but instead of selling sex, I think I should be loving someone. He does make us this promise that at no point is he going to really allow himself to fall victim to what we talked about in the first verse, of being a part of that problem, of being a continuation of what the issue is around us at all times. Giving us that promise that as this band goes forward, as their albums go forward, as he as a human being goes forward, he will not be a part of the problem. He will be a part of the success, and it will take growth, and it will take growth on the part of all of us. It'll take recognition on the part of all of us of what the problem is to be able to remedy that. And then now we get into maybe call it song structure wise, we can call it a breakdown. But for all accounts and purposes, let's refer to it as the spoken word portion. And he starts off by saying, I'm forever in, alongside the boys in jumpers on bikes from schools and cars. He's kind of setting the scene. Boys in jumpers. He's jumpers in England, Great Britain. Jumper is the blue school sweaters with the patch that school children wear. So boys in their school sweaters on their bikes from schools and in cars. He sets the tone even for the time of year when autumn leaves fall in sparse across mid-afternoon. He's setting up the scene almost with color. When you think autumn leaves, you instantly think of the reds, the yellows, the orange. he's setting up the tone for what is going on as he walks along, because it would seem as if he's walking along with a young lady that he is romantically involved with, because he says that she blazed about how cultural language is an operating system, a simple interface rendered feeble and listless. It almost seems like she's ranting, because there's no reason to say she blazed about. Because if she wasn't ranting, he would have just said she talked about. So he chooses the word blazed. She's animated. She's passionate about what she's speaking about. And what she's speaking about is the fact that language will always, human language will always fall short in the areas we need it to perform at its best when speaking about religion and art and love and the human condition. And he even admits that he never really understood what she was saying. He never understood the commentary that she was making on the duality of art and reality. He never understood what she was talking about. Living life and treating it as such, but with a certain disconnect. He neither understood either of them, and he was not comforted, but he definitely did not neglect his lack of understanding. He did allow his lack of understanding of the duality of both art and reality to be his comfort and his abandon. And he uses the statement to touch that cajoles at the artist with comfort and abandon. The statement cajoles, that's actually the third person. The first person would be cajole, which means to persuade someone. And you're persuading someone with incessant coaxing, incessant flattery, is to cajole at someone, to pull at them. And so he's saying that the pursuit of understanding of the duality of art and reality, it causes his comfort and abandon. So not only does he not run away from them, but he also allows it to bring those to him. And he never understood, he never understood the difference of the two, but he never neglected it. And as he's saying this, he almost snaps back from a daydream, if you will, while he walks with this young lady. And he begins to notice his surroundings once again. He notices the lighting from the sunset. He notices the houses. He notices the rooftops particularly. When the spires and the rolling roofs of the White City. Now, the White City, that could absolutely be a social observance. Maybe he's making a statement or a slight at gentrification. Or he could actually be talking about a specific place. There's an area in London which is referred to as the White City, and it's where the television center is. And this actually would fit the context. It would fit the theme of what this song has been about. As he walks looking at the television center and the sunset behind it, the autumn leaves, he's setting up that this is such a beautiful place. And as he watches all of this happen, all the hurt that we've talked about already, that the television center, the television community, the television, industry, the hurt that it brings about, the confusion it brings about, the perplexity that it brings about, he watches it all in the stillness of everything around him, and it actually is rather beautiful to him as he sees it all in this landscape. And he ends this reading with one of the more beautiful statements of love that I've ever come across. He says, "That orange English light cast only one singular shadow, for you are not beside me, but within me." I love that statement, because he realizes once again who he's walking with. This young lady, as I said, presumably that he is romantically involved with. You are not beside me, but within me. And I feel like this is by far one of the more beautiful statements on love, one of the more beautiful commentaries on love that I've come across in a long time. Because to love, to allow there to be division in love, you're here, I'm here, I do love you, and that's it. But to have the statement of love, you are not beside me, but within me. We are the same. We are one. This is the love that he's talking about and has been talking about the whole time. We're all human just like you. We're all in this together. When that is the take on love that we live our daily lives with. Because we end the song once again with the chorus repeating, we should be loving someone. We just are reminded over and over and over that we need to love. We need to forsake hate. We need to forsake ignorance. We need to be the first to be the progress we wish to see. We need to be loving someone. And twice, as the song fades out, that we need to be loving someone, twice during that final chorus, he sings, "We're all human just like you, man." And once again, it's just a reminder of how petty quarrels truly are. We're all in this together. We're all trying to figure out why we're here, what the fuck is going on. What we don't know proves what we do know. This human condition, this human race, this group of people that we are by proxy a part of, if we are to love each other, if we are to forsake hate and ignorance, if we are to forsake the charlatan democratic leader who tells us everything's fine, just follow me, just follow my words, follow them blindly. If we are to forsake that, if we are to forsake being a part of a base and follow intelligent thought process and follow love in loving those that we come in contact with, all of those problems do become petty. They do become just a minor quarrel. And as the song ends, from the very first time I heard this song, like I had mentioned earlier, I believe, I loved it based on the way the drums came in at the second chorus. That was actually what first called to me. And this goes to show that without the elements that the three other band members are bringing to the table, this song would not be what it is. The lyrics that we've just gone through, I absolutely love them. They are deep. They are informative, they're thought-provoking, but without the other three cats in this band, we would not have the song that we have. And this is one of the more beautiful examples of a band being honest with themselves, being honest with their fans, and being honest with their talents. They might be a pop band, but fucking A, are they good. They are really good. They are really tight on where they succeed best. And this is exactly what it is, with Matt writing deep, meaningful lyrics, and with the rest of the band coming around him, producing these songs, writing these songs, that they are not only catchy, that they're not only... this song has an incredible groove that goes with it. It is bouncy, it's flowing, but it all adds to the point that we should be loving someone. That's about all the notes I have on this. I hope that, as I usually say, I hope that anytime you hear this song in the future, anytime that you listen to this song going forward, that you will never hear this song the same, because I know I won't. I will always hear this song differently. I always think about this song differently, and it'll always remind me that I do need to be loving someone. We all have those people in our lives. That we need to stop looking at them as that they're beside us and that they're within us. And if we look at those around us in that way, that we are one, that we're all human, we all need to be just loving each other. I think a lot of those petty, just insolent... Insolent? Is that a word? Did I just make up a word? Fuck. Am I going to have to apologize next week for making up a word? Who knows? But I love this song. And I hope if you were not familiar with this song before this episode, that this becomes a favorite of yours. This album in general, like I said, it's one of my favorite albums to listen to front to back. No skip album, as I like to call them. But that's all I got. Loving Someone by the 1975. And at this point, it brings us to, by far, my favorite point in each episode, the local band spotlight. And at this point, we have a band from North Haven, Connecticut. They are called The Other Realm. I've been talking to these boys for a while now. They're fucking hilarious. They're two brothers. I've been DMing with them over Instagram and just shooting the shit. These guys are fucking hilarious. Check them out. They're on Spotify. Hit them up on Facebook. Follow them on Instagram. Anywhere that a band would ever be. These guys they're good boys. They're worth your time. They're worth your listen. And in speaking to them, I always, when I get in contact with these bands, I always have them send me over a bio, and I say, let me know what you're all about. In your words, be funny, be crass, don't give a fuck. Who is the other realm? And so whenever I asked them that question, here's what they gave me. The Other Realm is an alternative pop rock duo formed by brothers Kenny and Billy Ward. With their story-centric songwriting, genre-blending, and organic tonal roots, The Other Realm has released a variety of singles and gained a reputation for their relatable music and often autobiographical music. In 2019, their debut single, The Whole World's Melting, won top accolades at both the Maui Songwriter Competition and the Hawaii Songwriting Festival. Since then, they have released a slew of singles, including Solitaire and New Year's Day, and have released one EP titled Teleport. The brothers grew up in Connecticut and have played music together for years, but The Other Realm, their current band at the moment, The Other Realm marks their first official collaboration as a band. Kenny leads with songwriting, while Billy is a production guru, perfectly finessing the band's sound and using his multi-instrumental talents to help build out a fuller sound for each track. With influences ranging from pop to folk to hip-hop, the band's sound teleports listeners into a different realm of soundscapes, bound to a tight groove, while simultaneously providing eccentric lyrical content that floats along the catchy melodies beneath them. In an interview with the band, Indie Music Bus wrote, "Creativity in general isn't a problem for the duo. Their songs take a humorous, sometimes scathing look at current ideas, including climate change. Their wide mix of influences and combination of musical backgrounds shows in tracks from The Other Realm, which can often grab from a variety of genres to create a unique sound all of its own. The band plans to release new singles throughout 2020, leading up to their second EP, set to release in early 2021. Like I said, check these guys out. The Other Realm, they're fucking hilarious. Kenny and Billy, good boys, originally from New Haven, Connecticut. I think they're in Hawaii now. Writing fantastic tunes. Check them out on Spotify. The Elephant Wire Local Band Spotlight playlist. I think we added their song Solitaire to the playlist, so go check that out. It is a fantastic song. And then in general, support local music. We need to support local music. Put on your mask, go to the park, listen to that guy play some acoustic set, watch the live concerts, do anything you can. Support local music, local musicians need our help more than ever. And as such, if you would like to support the Elephant Wire and what we do, if you like what you've heard so far, this being episode 4, I feel like we're only going to get better from here. If you like what you hear, go to anchor.fm/The Elephant Wire Podcast. You can support us financially, monthly, by giving us a donation. Or there's an option on there that you can leave us a voice message, and you can literally just say, hey, you guys are killing it. Or you can tell us we suck. It's up to you. So if you like what you hear, support us in some way. Give us a follow on Instagram. Give us a follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere that podcasts are heard. We're on there. Tell your friends, tell your uncle, tell your auntie, tell your dog, tell your boss, tell your neighbor. The Elephant Wire Podcast, thank you so much for listening today. As always, never forget, fuck the man, hail Satan, hug your mom. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.